Good afternoon. It's July 17th. I'm actually starting over on Broadway. Was just at the liquor store here. Here, Broadway liquor store. And my wife is taking the car and the wine that we picked up from the Epimium Society. It's a wine club that we're a member of. She's taking that and heading off, and then I said I'd walk back from here. It's a warm day. It is 33 degrees with a heat warning and a severe thunderstorm watch for good measure. So I won't extend this too much past just what it takes to walk back from here, which should be about half an hour. Apartments over here I've walked by before. It is a bit of shade right now, cloud cover, so that's helping. Yeah, 33 is what? About 90 Fahrenheit. Yesterday was hotter, it was about 36, so about 95 Fahrenheit yesterday. Supposed to cool off a bit after this with some thunderstorms and rain coming in, so I've walked down there before, but this time we're just going this way. Along, there's usually rabbits over here in the middle of this complex. Let's see if there's a crow. That used to be a curling rink, but now it's more of a gym, I think. I could go down to the left and see if we find rabbits down there. It might be fun. I often see a passel of them right down this sidewalk here, but I don't see any today. Maybe they're all in the shade somewhere. Because I have walked through this complex a couple of times. I think that's probably more of a seniors residence kind of place over there. Of course, this will take us to the lake, but I won't walk my usual path along the lake. I'll vary it a bit. I have lots of grass in this complex, that's for sure. I've been in one or two of these apartments over the years. That's all I can say. I was doing more publishing stuff today. There's a new book, The Legend of Sarah by Leslie Godala, originally published by Del Rey Books in 1988 under the title The Lore Masters. There's a new edition of it. There's the Regina Girl Guide Center. New edition of it came out from Five Rivers Chapmanry, they called themselves. 2014, but they're gone, and under my Reprise label, Leslie approached me about bringing it out again, and I was happy to do that. It's a kind of an important work of Canadian science fiction. It's a church there, Shiloh Assembly, Church of God, maybe, or Pentecostal, I don't know which, possibly Apostolic, I don't know, one of those. It'll say on the sign, I just didn't get a good look at it. Apostolic Church. This is Canadian Blood Services over here. It used to be Canadian Red Cross, but Blood Services have been separated from Red Cross for some time now. Anyway, Legend of Sarah. So it's a post-apocalyptic story about a girl who gets embroiled in a conflict among the government and the church and the Files, who are technologically still advanced society, but they only live in these enclaves, so the rest of the world is quite steeped in superstition, and they see what the technophiles, that's where the name comes from, what they do as a form of magic, so they see them as witches. And so that's where some of the conflict comes in. It's a good book. I enjoyed reading it and editing it. And now it's out, almost. The ebook is out. The print book will be out shortly, so probably this week that'll all go live everywhere. And that'll be the next title from Shadowpaw Press, Reprise. CBC over there. This is where the CNID building used to be. They tore it down. There was something else going to be built here, and that didn't happen, so now it's just an empty lot. Our house is air conditioned, so once I get back I will really appreciate that. We are officially Wascana Center, so this was just dirt not that long ago. The grass is really filled in nicely. Oh, wait a minute. Well, I guess the dirt was on that side where all the weeds are growing. That makes more sense. I was thinking, boy, that grass looks good for having been... But no. This here is where the building was, which is now mostly weed grown. This would have been the path behind the building, I guess. So the lake is over there, can't really see it from here. We leave Broadway Avenue at this point, and we're on what's officially called Wascana Drive. That's the back of the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation building, CBC building. When I get back, I'm going to defrost the refrigerator. We have an old refrigerator. An International Harvester that was bought in 1955 and has worked constantly now for, except when the power's off, for 85 years? No, 40, 60, 50, 15, 65 years, I guess. 67 years, to be precise. I don't walk along this path very often, so this is at least somewhat new or fresh. There's the legislative building over there. For some reason, the screen has gone very dim. Let's see if I can... Yeah, it's like completely... It says it's completely bright, but I can't see the screen at all. Huh. Not sure what that's all about, but... So if you do make a comment, I may not be able to see it. It's completely invisible. Weird. And according to the controls, the brightness is turned up fully, but it clearly isn't. What if I just step into the shade over here and see if I can figure this out? I hope you enjoyed that. I didn't actually quit, it looks like. The streaming continued, so... Don't worry, it'll all work out in a minute. Woo! Might just want to edit that out. Or maybe I'll leave it in just because who really cares? Okay, well, I'm back and I can sort of see the screen now. It's still very dark. I don't know what if it's just my eyes. Oh well. So I will not be able to reply to any comments. I simply can't see them. And I don't know why, but there you go. Like maybe if I get it in the sun, it'll decide it needs to brighten itself up. Apparently not. Okay, well, if you're there, thanks for walking with me, but I can't see any comments. Carrying on, because it's warm. Hopefully I'm focused in the right place too. So up here's where they're working on the new swimming pool. I don't know if we can take a look at it on the way by or not. This will open next year. I intended to stop it and then pick it up again back there, but I couldn't see the screen well enough to even find the place where I press it to stop the feed, so I thought it might just quit while I fiddled with the phone, but it didn't. So I'm anxious to see what kind of upside down view of proceedings that provided. Can't really walk along this side, but we can take a peek through the fence. Still very much a construction site, but it's going to be a much bigger, nicer pool and facility than it was before. I have to go to the other side if I'm going to keep walking along here. I should cross over entirely. And then here we are again coming up to the back of Dark Hall and the college building that I did a quick tour in the other day. And this tree that I mentioned, I've had my photo taken in front of. It was much smaller then, because that was in the late 90s. After we did shows at Dark Hall, the cast would come out here and we'd have our picture taken in front of this tree, which was about half that size back then. 25 years minimum in the past. I'll stick over here because why not? Maybe I'll walk in between Dark Hall and college buildings this time. So I was kind of thinking I would angle over by the museum today. Royal Saskatchewan Museum. So there's the college building. If you go back 2 or 3 days, I took a brief tour inside there. Showed off the rooms that are named after my mother-in-law and my wife and myself for donations we made to the cause during the renovations. This is Dark Hall. Of course, I also have a brief tour inside there if you go back a few weeks to when it first opened. Still working on this little stage area here, but the landscaping seems to be well underway in the middle here. Oh, there's even a U of R cornerstone there. here's what used to be the main entrance of Dark Hall, but you won't go in this way now. They're exits, but they're not entrances. The entrance is through this joint space over here where it says Dark Hall. I'll go walk in the shade down here. It all connects, so you now enter at ground level, and you used to have to go up or down once you came in. There wasn't much ground level, anything at ground level to get into the building. So it's much more accessible now, and there's elevators too. And then this is the credit union building, which I always like to walk beside because you get this cool reflection effect happening. Ooh. Haven't walked along here for a while. Okay, now we'll go over this way so I can go down by the Royal Saskatchewan Museum instead of just through the path over there, which I often take. So, College Avenue in front of us. It is warm. It is warm. Let me think. I guess I can just cut through the grass here, which will take me to the drive there that goes behind the museum where the main entrance is. Although, well, that would be redundant. We'll do it this way. Picnic benches out here for your picnicking needs. Excuse me. I'm basically walking straight toward my house right now, but can't go straight. Have to find a way to cross Albert Street. Still can't see the lake, but it is over there. Trust me. That was the second Sastel building there. Sastel now is a bigger building downtown. And that's just offices of various sorts. The breeze is nice when you catch it. So here's the museum. You can see the bas relief up there of various animals from Saskatchewan. And of course it's Tyndall stone covering it, limestone. Very common building material on the prairies because it can be quarried in, well, Tyndall, Manitoba is where it gets its name from. I don't know where else it's quarried. It's entirely from Tyndall or other places. There's the main entrance, Royal Saskatchewan Museum. There's the heat again. Somebody with a camper. I think what we'll do is go around this way and then go up the walkway in front of the museum, cross over where I often do. It means crossing over also to the other side of it's kind of the stage door entrance if you're doing something in the theater there, so I've been in that way a few times, although we usually went in the front, I guess. But there's a room there that's behind the stage that we used when we did shows here. go this way. You can see the front of the museum. But they don't want you going in this way, even though this is obviously, in some ways, the main entrance. They don't let you use it right now. Or those kind of arbitrary rules that popped up during COVID don't really do a thing, public safety wise, but people did like them. Oh yes, and there's a much bigger painting over, or not painting, but sculpture over here, which I've never really stopped to look at with the camera, so let's do that. Right here. And then it says, the Museum of Natural History is dedicated to the honor of all the pioneers who came from many lands to settle in this part of Canada, a tribute to their vision, toil, and courage, which gave so much to Saskatchewan and to this nation. There you go. And more animals up there. Then it has this nice formal garden here that leads up to it. Now, interestingly, this corner originally was going to have a big railway hotel on it. And in fact, they erected some of the steel. This would have been about 1914 or somewhere along in there. And then it stalled and the money went away. And then the railroad went away too. The rail line that came down sort of just north of our house. So there's a rabbit or snowshoe hare. Also went away. And then so did this. And some of the structural steel was actually used in a house down by the creek that I walk by. Well, I guess every time I walk along the creek. And I know that from my book, Historic Walks of Regina and Moose Jaw. Here's the main sign, which also has a screen on it to show you what's going on. I can smell these flowers in the heat. I think I may have caught this pretty good for crossing here. It's about to turn black. Perfect. That's the original SaskTel building, Saskatchewan Government Telephones building, and it's now part of the museum. So that's where their labs are, and fossils are worked on, and things in there. As I mentioned before, there was an occasion, a few occasions, one for sure I remember, where there was this international story about a dinosaur fossil found in amber, a small dinosaur fossil, feathered dinosaur maybe? Anyway, the sample that they were talking about, and it was all over the world on Reuters and everybody else, was located inside this lab here, just about a block from my house, which I thought was cool. The flowers they put in over here are doing nicely. This is always done up with flowers. This divider, and I got the sunflowers in the middle. And again, that's the second SaskTel building, government telephone building. The architect was Joseph Pettick, whom I mentioned on a previous walk not that long ago, because he did the SaskPower building downtown, among many others in the city. And I kind of knew him. Well enough to say hi and have a chat with. It's now the Unitarian Church. It was First Church of Christ Scientist at one point. It's also used for the Fringe Festival. It's one of their venues, or at least it has been. That is coming up this year, so we'll see if there's anything going on in there this year. Some future walk. Okay, just around the Crescent here, and I'll be home and ready to step into the air conditioning. When I can kind of see the screen now, but as far as I can tell, nobody has said hello, so I guess I haven't missed anything. Assuming it is actually streaming and it didn't actually stop, but I think it's still going from what I can see. There's a big difference between the temperature in the sun and the temperature in the shade. Ah yes, well obviously somebody has been able to see it, because there's a comment from, I can barely read it because again I'm having trouble with the screen. Oh, Janet, hi. Almost home. Started at the Broadway liquor store. Shorter than I would have ordinarily planned to do on a Sunday, but with the warmth it seems to have been plenty far enough. I'm thirsty. Not much left to say. I think I've said everything I had to say on this walk. Get home, I have to defrost the freezer. Do laundry. An exciting afternoon, as you can tell. And still working on getting a book published, but I'm just waiting now for that to be approved, and then it will be up and ready to order. You can already get the ebook for The Legend of Sarah by Leslie Godala. It is now up. And print should be on Amazon very shortly, and everywhere else shortly after that, is the way it's shaping up. Okay, I'll stop here. Thanks for joining me on this warm walk, and should be back tomorrow for a walk along the creek, unless it's raining.